Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask me if I could briefly explain the Westside barbell conjugate method in layman's terms easily. Well, let's see if I can break that down just based on memory, because I have run Westside before. I've read a lot of Louis Simmons' material, a lot of Dave Tate stuff a few years back when I was messing with the system. So I'm somewhat familiar with it. I am by no means an expert on the system. If you really want to understand it better, you're going to need to talk to Louis Simmons. He'll be happy to explain it all to you. But let me throw this cap on, and let's see if we can explain it briefly. All right, Westside barbell, one of the best systems out there for equipped lifters. Some guys experiment with variations of it for raw. However, that's a little bit different of a beast. If you want to really run the program, though, you will need to probably get resources from Louis Simmons and Westside, because I'm not going to be able to give you enough information in a video for you to run the program properly. Let's just call it like it is. It's a pretty complex program. But essentially, Westside has 4 days a week of training. You're supposed to do GPP work and conditioning work on your off days, by the way. So again, this is high frequency type of training, and he generally intends his program to be run by people on drugs. Louis doesn't pull punches on that. He's honest. That's why I like the guy. He's brutally honest. The guy seems to be a little bit of an asshole, but he's smart and he's honest. Two things I appreciate in a man. So I can't knock him for that. So that being said, 4 day a week lifting program. Generally, it's kind of an upper-lower split with concurrent style training. You would consider it to be concurrent periodization, not quite undulating periodization, but concurrent periodization. Although it does include sometimes concurrent or undulating periodization. It actually includes it depending on how you do your different second days of the week. But generally, you have bench press day and bench press accessories. You have a max effort day every week, and you have a dynamic effort every week. Now, sometimes if you want to make it undulating, you can replace the dynamic effort with a hypertrophy day, and this goes for the others also. Then you have 2 days dedicated to the squat and the deadlift every week and their accessories. And they're also a max effort and a dynamic effort day. And again, all your accessories can vary. I mean, all your rowing, overhead pressing, all that stuff is generally going to be on your bench press days. And anything that helps primarily with your squat and deadlift on your squat and deadlift days. Now, the max effort days, what Louis has people do, you pick generally 6 different exercises to be your max effort exercises. For the bench press, for example, your bench press could be a pause bench, completely raw. And I just sneezed all over my green screen. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hopefully that doesn't mess up the beautiful forest background for you guys. But let's say, I'll give you some examples of what you could do. You could, using his system, you could do a straight pause bench on the chest raw as one of your 6 bench exercises. You could do a floor press as your number 2. You could do a 1 board as your number 3. A 2 board as your number 4. 3 board as your number 5. And then what the heck else? You could do a bench press with chains as your number 6 max effort exercise, right? You got 6 bench exercises you've picked to be max effort, and he counts each of those as a different exercise. What you do, you build up and you ramp up on your max effort bench day until you hit an actual max on those. All right, you get up and you're supposed to not fail it. You're not supposed to go to failure. You're supposed to hit with what you know you feel like is a max. All right, so it might be 300 pounds on your pause bench, right? The raw pause bench, and then it might be 290 on the floor press, and so on and so forth. And then what you do, you don't ever do the same one more than within 6 weeks of each other. So maybe at the 6 week mark, you do those other 5 exercises, you rotate through them, and then the 6th week, you try to beat your previous max again. Because you're supposed to get stronger every month on Westside, year after year after year. That's the idea. The way he has it push you, you're supposed to get stronger. And so when you hit that max again on that exercise, the pause bench, you should be trying to get 305 6 weeks later, or at least 302 and a half if you hit 300. Your goal should be to increase the max, because you're supposed to get stronger year round on Westside. That's the way Louis intends it to work. You get stronger. No room for weakness. He doesn't accept weakness as an excuse. ever. There's no excuse for weakness. Well, you didn't use enough drugs, and that's an excuse. You're a loser. You're not willing to win. You didn't sleep enough. You didn't eat enough. Well, quit being a loser. Louis doesn't put up with excuses on his program. The guy's kind of hardcore like that. But that's the idea. You get stronger every 6 weeks on that exercise. And then you do your accessories afterwards. And you pick accessories based upon your weak points. If your lockout, because again, this is for equip, seems to be the weak point, you do some extra board presses for low reps in there, right? Do a bunch of triples with some board presses. Or some bench press with chains, or do use some overhead press. If you feel like your shoulders are too weak, do more overhead press. You pick accessories to do that, and then you do some back work, some pendlay rows, some chest supported rows. Again, you're keeping it pretty heavy though. It's a max effort day, heavy work. Right? And then you do a bunch of tricep work because Louis is real big on triceps. So then you come in and do 5 or 10 sets of tricep extensions of some type. He has all types of triceps extensions he likes people doing. Even tricep extensions with bands, with dumbbells. Again, you'll have to go check out the Westside system to understand it. But that is essentially what it is. You have a max effort bench day. Then you'll have your dynamic effort bench day. All your dynamic effort days, you use 3-week undulating waves, and they have formulas for Westside based upon what your max bench is. For example, your max squat, your max deadlift, and you run certain percentages of those with a certain size of band or chain, okay? You have a percentage you run, and you come in and you do high volumes of doubles or triples. It's somewhere between like 8 and 10 sets of 2 to 3 reps for maximum speed, using either chains or bands. And once you set up the 3-week wave, you run percentages and you increase the weight through the 3-week wave so that you're making it harder as you go with the dynamic effort. The dynamic effort is there to increase speed and power, and you're doing as many as 30 reps with short breaks between for maximum power and speed. You're supposed to be moving the weight as fast as possible when you do this dynamic effort stuff. It's about speed strength. It's about starting strength. And you could run chains for one wave, and he's got percentages for chains. So again, accommodating resistance, you put chains on the end of the bar, and you do your 10 triples or whatever, or your 10 doubles, however you have it set up, and you increase it each week. And then the next week you might switch over to bands. And the same thing, the bands are used to create what Louis Simmons always calls overspeed eccentrics, to where you're training yourself to where the bands pull the bar down faster than gravity, so that it hits your chest and you're just boom, boom, boom. That's your bench press, and they're fast. Power, power, power. You're training the static reflex. You're training a myostatic reflex or a stretch reflex using the bands to speed up the eccentric rep to make it faster. And so it forces a corresponding stretch reflex in the muscle as a result of it. And again, it can seem a little brutal at first to get used to. Now, and again, you run these in 3-week waves. And the whole idea is that Louis is always trying to get people to overcome what's called the law of accommodation. He's a big proponent of that, which means that if you do the same thing for 3 weeks, your body adapts and you don't get any better. So the idea is that you're pushing yourself through the 3-week wave. You're actually increasing the intensity as you go. And then you switch to a different variation. You'll switch from chains to bands, back and forth, things like that. So that you're switching it up while still maintaining progressive overload. You're forcing progressive overload. And then you do this, and the same thing with the max effort exercises. Again, you're trying to overcome the law of accommodation. That's the whole idea of it. So you don't do the same exercise more than once every 6 weeks for max effort. And that's, again, how the system is designed to work, and that is how it works. And does it work? Yeah, it seems to work. So by doing those, you're spreading them out into, you're basically separating it by 6 weeks. Instead of just the 3 weeks, you're actually going 6 weeks without doing the same thing again. And by changing it up and hitting a max each time, you know you're doing the best that you can. So you're getting stronger in theory, but you don't hit the same exercise again for 6 weeks. And the idea is that by doing the different variations of the exercise, you get stronger from doing them each week without the body adapting. And then all the accessory work and all the dynamic effort work is what builds extra muscle on you so that you do get stronger. So you're doing the maxes for the neural efficiency. You're doing building neural efficiency and size off of the dynamic effort work and training speed. And then all the other accessory work, of course, is there to build up all the weakest muscles, the weakest links in your lifts, so that it forces you to get stronger, because a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. Then for the deadlift and squat days, it's the same thing. You run variations, and you have a ton of variations available. He generally is going to want people to be doing different types of squats or different types of deadlifts. You pick one of the two, and you hit a max on it every day. So let's say for your 6 exercises you pick there that you might run in your 6-week blocks for the max effort squat and deadlift day, you might have a conventional deadlift. You might have a sumo deadlift with chains. You might have a conventional deadlift off of blocks that you pull off of 6-inch blocks, right? Or 4-inch blocks. So that can be your 3 deadlift maxes. And then for your squat, you might do a squat with a safety bar. You might do a box squat with chains. And you might do, he doesn't, not real big on high bar squats. So let me think of something else that you would do there. You could pick safety bar squat again. You could do a safety bar squat off of a high box. And you'll do your other one off of a low box, your box squat. So you've got 6 different exercises there. You would pick, it's just a sample for what you might pick for Westside. And then the same thing, you hit a max on those. Each one of those 6 exercises, you do pick one of those 6 and you do them in the same order in the 6-week rotations. You hit a max, and the goal is to, again, that 6-week rolls around again, you hit that high box safety bar squat again. You try to hit a higher max on it than you did last time. When you get to that sumo deadlift with chains, you try to hit a higher max than you did last time, right? And then for the speed days, everything is box squat. Same thing, it's accommodating resistance. So it's going to be chains or bands on everything. You do box squats for, again, your something like 2 to 3 reps for 8 to 10 sets. And again, he has percentages available that you run depending on what chains and bands you're using of your max that you run. And then the deadlifts, you do speed deadlifts. So again, lighter weight with either chains or bands, and you run those in 3-week waves also. So that's your dynamic effort days. Now, if you're going to run it as a concurrent style, you also have the option to run 3-week blocks to where you could technically do hypertrophy days instead. So that, or you could mix it up to where you go through a rotation of dynamic effort, max effort, and then hypertrophy days. And the hypertrophy days is just like you would think of. You do different variations of the bench, squat, and deadlift for sets of 8 to 10 reps. Same way bodybuilders do stuff, just to put on overall size. And you can run those on their individual days too and rotate them through. But again, the whole idea is that even if you do that, you run blocks to where you increase the weight for 3 weeks on any given exercise. Because again, trying to overcome the law of adaptation. And does the system work? Yeah, it works. It's an interesting system. It's not for everybody. I found when I ran it that honestly I didn't get as strong as I'd hoped to off of it. I gained muscle though. I recompositioned. I gained muscle. I lost fat. I didn't get stronger at my raw lifts though, which really bothered me. But you know, that's to be expected with all the accommodating resistance. Your paused raw lifts aren't always going to go up so well on that as you might hope for. And mine certainly didn't. But I only ran it for a few months. But the interesting thing was, I noticed that I definitely recompositioned on the program. But I was also just going to mess around with single ply a bit. I didn't get much lifting in with the single ply. My single ply lifts did seem to go up though, and that was the whole point. For equipped lifting, your lifts go up, but my raw lifts didn't, unfortunately, even though I gained size. But you know what? When I had the exercise that I gained from it, I went back to exclusively paused work, those lifts went up rapidly. So just a side note, did the program actually work even for me as a raw lifter? Yeah, it did. It's just that I lost strength because of neural efficiency loss on those lifts, but I gained muscle from it and recompositioned enough that within a few weeks of returning to those lifts, I did get stronger on them, quite a bit stronger on them from the extra muscle I gained. But hopefully that kind of gives you guys an idea of what Westside barbell programming is like. And like I said before, I can only tell you guys so much about it, and if you really want to understand the system better, you're going to just need to go read some of Louis Simmons' material, or better yet, go ask the guy. He does plenty of seminars still these days, I think. You're probably better off getting your information directly from the horse's mouth. It's his system, and he's been very successful at it. And again, I can kind of only at best give you guys a little bit of an overview of it. If you really want to understand it better, talk to Louis Simmons directly. The guy's a pretty personable person overall. He'll talk to you if you're really interested in his program. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.